want to welcome everybody to the very first meeting of the Northern New England chapter of SABR. I'm the chapter chair that many of you have met already. I'm Bruce McClure, one of the SABR membership ambassadors, and you have no idea how happy I am to be able to get this started for all of you. Pete, welcome. Good to see you tonight. I want to take a minute just before we really get started. There's some people here who were very supportive of us getting this chapter started, and I just wanted to acknowledge them. First off, my friend Clayton Truder, who is the chair of the Vermont chapter. Clayton was instrumental in giving me a lot of encouragement and advice in starting this chapter, and I just want to say thank you very much, Clayton. This is a result of a lot of your advice and encouragement, and I'm in your debt.
My genuine pleasure. My pleasure to be here tonight. It's so exciting to see that this is actually happening.
I appreciate it, Clayton. Where is Bill Nolan is here tonight. Bill is one of the directors on our board. Bill has also stated that he will be double matching all donations to SABR today up to $5,000. So I'm hoping that this evening, right here live on camera. Bill, thanks for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and glad to see you again, Clayton. We are both worked together on a book, SABR book, that was his idea, honoring the Tony Conigliaro Award recipients over the years.
Great to see you. It was a pleasure to work on it.
Yep.
So Joanne Hurlbert is here. She's a co-chair of the Boston chapter. She and I have had some discussions, as I have with Bill. We're going to be working on a regional SABR day coming up in early 2023. Joanne, how are you?
Oh, good. Yes, we are working on that. I have put out some investigations out to see how it's going. Actually, I've already received 2 people who are interested in giving presentations at it. Oh, so fantastic. We better get going with it. But right. Have shown some interest in it as well. So, well, stay tuned on that. I'm waiting for facts and figures and numbers to come back to me from one source to see whether or not we can make it happen at that particular venue, somewhere right in the middle of New England.
That's terrific. Last but not least, my friend Perry Barber is here. Perry has been an encouragement for an awfully long time. She is a committee chair on the Umpires and Rules Committee, is a dynamic force in our organization, and I am so happy to be able to say that she is here in our first meeting tonight. Perry Barber, how are you, my friend?
Great, thanks, Bruce. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Perry, how are you?
Move a little to your left so we can see all of you instead of just there you go.
The camera's not
right.
For those of you who don't know,
you definitely class up the frame.
Thank you. Yes, I agree completely. This is as Perry just pointed out. This is my wife, Molly. Molly has been a rock when it comes to this and giving me the push to do all of this as well. She is a active member on the Baseball Memories Committee and has been my good right arm.
Thank you.
So yeah, Bill, I would like to talk to you also. I've been meaning, sorry, I was traveling. I need to talk to you about the Yankee Stadium book. So we'll do that later. Thank you very much. And Bruce, you are as much an inspiration to me, and I'm sure everybody else here, as you claim that I am to you or anybody else. And thank you yesterday for spending time with me, helping me get my thoughts organized about the Umpires and Rules Committee, which Bill Nowlin kindly asked me to chair several years ago and has just lain dormant. And I asked you for help reviving it because I watched you in the last few months get this group going and bring it to life. And I've just been so impressed by what you've done with it. And I would like to use some of the elements of what you've done as a template for what I can do to re-up the Umpires and Rules Committee, which has a lot of promise, in real world terms. So I'm very grateful to you for sending that to me yesterday.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say, Perry. Thank you very much for and for your kindness. I really appreciate it. So here we are with our first meeting, and what I wanted to do with our first meeting is get started with a little bit of Diamond Discourse. We did this once before as kind of an informal group as we were getting started. And the big thing that we did in the meantime was we were discussing the Contemporary Era Hall of Fame ballot. And I had put out to our group and many of us throughout SABR. Bob Lemoyne is here tonight. Hi, Bob. How are you, my friend? I got to wave. That's good. I put out a mock ballot to everyone to kind of get some interest started and whatnot. And I am going to try to share my screen. And we're going to see as if this works. And
did you just lose everyone?
I did not. No, nope. Molly's concerned that I just lost all of you.
Yeah.
So here is our results. We had 22 responses, and we're pretty tough because we didn't get anybody into the Hall of Fame. Dale Murphy came pretty close here at nearly 60%, but Albert Bell did just about as well as I thought he was going to. He got, I think, one more vote than I thought he would. And I'm surprised at the number of votes that Kurt Schilling got. So I thought that we had some very interesting results that came out of this ballot. And I'd like to hear from everybody here. Who do you think, now that you've had time to vote on it and look at it, maybe think about it a little more if you had some time to maybe research it, what do you think the Contemporary Era Committee is going to put in? Now, what interestingly, I actually, before I ask that question, I hear, if I can go fast enough, what you're seeing now here is a list of those who are on the committee, which I thought was very interesting. There's some pretty interesting names here. Alan Trammell's on the list, Jack Morris, Artie Moreno, who's actually put his team up for sale. Susan Slusser, who is a dynamic media member. Lots of names on here. I don't know if this might change your way of thinking, seeing who's on the committee and who will be lobbying on Saturday afternoon for their favorites. But let's get something started here. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen on Saturday?
Well, I think that it would be pretty hard to keep Fred McGriff out with all of the stats that he was able to put up, with almost 500 home runs, a 5-time All-Star, Silver Slugger 3 times, and he played for 19 years. It would be, I was kind of disappointed, and maybe this is the homie in me, that Dwight Evans wasn't included in that list.
Dwight Evans and Lou Whitaker, too.
There's 2 names that were brought up to me today by a good friend of mine as I was texting back and forth with him this afternoon. How did they miss those guys?
I have no idea. That was very strange.
Did they miss them, or were they on the ballot last time around and therefore they weren't this time? I have no idea.
I don't recall. I know Dick Allen was on the ballot last time and he didn't carry over it. And
Right.
he's another one I can't understand how he didn't get in.
I think the stars align nicely for Dale Murphy. You have a lot of controversial figures on the ballot, and you have him who may be the most squeaky clean guy imaginable in baseball history. Plus, you have a couple of Braves adjacent people on the committee. I think the stars are nicely aligned for him to get selected.
He was definitely one of the ones I voted for, Dale Murphy.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I had Dale Murphy on my ballot. I had McGriff on it as well.
I voted for McGriff.
Molly voted for McGriff as well.
Is my microphone working,
Did
guys?
you?
I think I did. Guys, can you hear me on this?
We hear you.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
she's good.
thanks.
Okay.
I would have voted for McGriff as, but, you know, being restricted to 3 people, I went with Murphy, Bonds, and Clemens.
Oh, bless
Really?
your heart.
Yeah. Okay, now I want to ask you, now, what is your reasoning behind, that's fascinating. What's your reasoning behind that?
Well, the way I think with the steroid generation, you have to discount all of those stats from that time. And I have to think about, okay, what did they do before that started? Bonds was on a track for the Hall of Fame with the Pirates and in his first years with the Giants. Clemens, before the steroids, was considered one of the greatest pitchers ever, if not the greatest. Especially Clemens, I can't stand. I mean, it's like he went through roid rage and just got really weird and obnoxious. But so I had to hold my nose with him. Bonds is who he is. But I feel that their baseball abilities, because of them, they deserve to be in. And, you know, one of the standards I have is if Ty Cobb is in, who was one of the most flaming, you know what's in baseball history. Bill James calls Rogers Hornsby probably the biggest horse's ass in all of baseball history. If people hold their nose and bring them in, I don't mind bringing Clemens and Bonds in. Sosa and McGuire, by contrast, they were 2 guys, for me at least, they were not going to get into the Hall of Fame based on what they were doing before the home run started. I'm a Cubs fan. Sosa is forever the immensely talented but just irritatingly inconsistent player of his first years, and then suddenly he's looks like a Greek god. You know, he's looks like an Adonis, all muscled and everything, and he starts hitting 60 home runs every year. My rule of thumb is they don't get in, but the guys who were good enough before their alleged use of steroids, they deserve to be in. So I voted for those 2 and Murphy. If we were allowed more votes, I have always liked McGriff. I thought he was a great player. I would have voted for him too.
The rules are it's 3 votes. That's why you only had 3 votes in this.
Oh.
Each player, each person on the committee only gets 3 votes. It's my understanding that they also cannot abstain.
Well, that's good.
I might be wrong on that, but I thought I read that they cannot abstain, so they must vote. Somebody, if somebody knows a little bit more and can correct me, that'd be great. But your reasoning is very interesting. I was actually interviewed last night by the guys over at Baseball and Barbecue for their podcast. That'll come out in a couple of weeks, and we had the conversation about Pete Rose and Roger Clemens and the like. I've got a lot of strong opinions on guys like that, and especially Rose and Clemens. I know we didn't bring them up, but those two went together last night, and if you listen to the podcast, you'll hear it, you'll understand. For a lot of reasons. So I find your methodology very interesting, Ray. Who didn't vote and has some opinions on who they think should go in on that ballot?
I don't think I voted.
Okay, Art, let's start with Art. Art, what do you think?
Bonds and Clemens, and I hate Clemens, but they're the 2 best modern pitcher and hitter. Actually, pitcher and all-around play.
Perry, what do you say?
Good thing they were going against a whole lot of other. And I'm yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Close up on you.
Okay, so I was leaning toward Fred McGriff and Dale Murphy for pretty obvious reasons. My other vote, yeah, I mean, I'm torn. You know, I don't want to be a morally righteous prig. You know, because there are lots of flawed Hall of Famers. So I think I'd have to vote for Barry Bonds. You know, he's the home run leader. He should be in there.
One of the things that I thought of with Barry Bonds, if I took steroids, for instance, I would not be able to hit a home run every time I swung.
Right.
You know, in the season he hit 73 homers, he was walked so many times.
236 times.
And he would get one swing a game, basically. And every time he swung, he would hit a homer. Now, the steroids are there. I mean, otherwise it would have been a double or a triple or whatever. But not everybody can do that.
Yeah, you know, every era had its drugs. Back in the 70s, it was greenies and it was Coke, you know, who knows? But yeah, he had the basic talent and the numbers don't lie. And however you interpret his transgressions, I think he deserves to be in there. And the only thing that's keeping him out is hostility and enmity from the voters, mostly writers, probably, maybe some other players, I don't know, who harbor some kind of grievance against him from a moral standpoint, because I was pure, everybody else should be, stuff like that. You know, it gets a little complicated.
I think it was more than that, because he was always prickly. And
yes,
when all of this started, he got even more so. And I think that's a big part of it. Like I said about Clemens, he was a great pitcher, but I just remember like him getting thrown out of a Red Sox playoff game for something he said to the ump, and apparently it was like a no-brainer for the ump. I mean, who does that? You know, and
maybe he had a hot date. Happens all the time. Guys try to get thrown out on purpose.
Not to me, it doesn't. But
And I say, hey, if I have to stand out here and sweat in 95-degree heat for another 2 hours, so do you.
There you go.
Call me whatever name you want, and you're not going.
I'm going to make you stay just for that.
yeah, this is just a little anecdote that doesn't have anything to do with the topic at hand. I've told you that I played in an over 45 baseball league here in Maine. And there was this one guy on one of the teams who was just one of the funniest guys I have ever met. And he had this deal with this little tiny roly-poly umpire that we had, that if he got tired of playing in the heat here, in July and May, he would say something to the umpire and get thrown out. So anyway, this one game, his team was short. They had like 10 players or something. And it was like 90 degrees. He decided he didn't want to be in there. So he looked at the umpire and said, winked at him and then said, "You little shit, that wasn't a strike, that was a ball." And then the umpire played along with him. What are you talking about? One more word, you're going to be carried out of here in a wheelbarrow.
One more word after he already called him a little shit?
And then the manager of my friend's team suddenly turned real pale and came out, "Tim, you can't get thrown out. We don't have enough players."
The old forfeit ploy.
All right. That's terrific. My issue with Clemens, we've debated him now for a few minutes, has nothing to do with steroids. And I'm going to take the same tack that I took with the guys at Baseball and Barbecue last night. I'm not going to state exactly what that is. It's easily Googled. And in my opinion, it discounts him from eligibility in the Hall of Fame and actually eligibility in getting into organized baseball in one way or another moving forward. So if you have a chance, do some Google searches on Roger Clemens. There are some things that will come right up that you'll understand a little bit more. Who else? Who else has got?
Like he totally made up that he thought what he was throwing at Mike Piazza was the ball or something instead of what it actually was.
Nothing to do with Piazza.
Very different. Yeah.
Yeah. So but it's, in my opinion, it's not something that I want to verbalize on something like this. Do a Google search.
The Mindy McCready narrative.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah. Very sad.
Yeah.
Very
that's
sad.
it. Yeah. Who else has some opinions on this?
Bruce, I do.
Hi, Tony.
Thank you. I saw a wonderful show tonight. Major League Baseball Now with Brian Kenny. And I thought his argument made a lot of sense. He said, instead of excusing bad behavior, let's reward good behavior. And so he was for McGriff, Mattingly, and Murphy. So let's vote for those three guys. And I find that pretty satisfying.
I think that's a great idea. Kenny's a great mind. He's a SABR member too, and he's a great asset to MLB Network. I love watching MLB Now when he's on that show, and I like his thoughts. I like that thought. That's very good. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Bill.
I'll offer a thought. Well, first of all, Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the Southern New England chapter, the Rhode Island chapter meeting on Saturday, was it also true that no one was elected? There was a group of people that voted at that meeting.
That's correct. Yes, there was.
That's what I recall.
Yeah, that's what
Right?
that's what it was. Yeah, and I was very interested in hearing a few of the comments around me on that, because quite frankly, a lot of them were much more into it than I was. I was just a slightly invested bystander. But because I looked at the list, and also I also looked at Bruce's list, and I had the same feeling, is that slim pickings. And that was how everybody was feeling about it. A lot of little minor discussions going around, in my particular area and everything. And we were just talking about that the list was kind of short on things. And on another aside too, talking about like holding your nose for somebody like, White and, Rogers Hornsby. How about Hal Chase? We got like a litany of horrors that are on the HOF. But back when those people were put in and inducted, nobody was holding their nose. It was a different culture, a different time, different history. And yes, we would hold our nose for them now. Just as some of us are holding our nose for Schilling and a few others along on that list too. And it is all a matter of the times, the present culture, and just what people find acceptable and not acceptable has changed over time. And I think that is also something when you look at those lists, not only the one on Saturday, but also the one, that Bruce, you put out. It's the same feeling. It's the same feeling that looking at, quite frankly, one that I did pick that nobody else did either was Tory Hunter, but that was really just a slim pickings pick, even for me. All right, Todd Halton would be okay too, but
I did not actually vote either in Rhode Island or here, and this might be heresy, but the reason I didn't is I don't care. I am very interested in baseball history. I've never cared who was in the Hall of Fame and who wasn't in the Hall of Fame for whatever reason.
Well, preferences change over time. The way we look at players has changed over time from the very beginning. I mean, Ty Cobb, do you think a character like Ty Cobb would be invited into the HOF now? Well, he was still hanging on to his good reputation back then in 36. So hey, which ones are we going to be picking out in these next few years who will somehow stumble and fail in 10, 15, 20 years from now? You just don't know.
All very good points. All very good points.
I have a different perspective on that list in that Murphy and McGriff both, there's no doubt that out of all of those that they should be on there, from the rest of the list, it could be a toss-up, but I don't see that as being slim pickings at all, because there are two people there that have better numbers than a lot of players that are already in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you use that argument, everyone on that list is better than people in the Hall of Fame.
True. Different times. Yeah.
Different times. I mean, certainly
Different
somebody
times,
made the
yeah.
comment that, tastes change. I mean, I joined SABR in 78, and my feelings are much different now than they were then. I don't know whether, Bonds to me is a no-brainer, but the rest of them there. I mean, McGriff was a really, really good player. Is he a Hall of Famer? To me, no.
Interesting.
What about Murphy?
Same thing. And he wasn't that good for that long.
I think the longevity is what has kept a lot of these guys out.
Murphy played for 18 years. McGriff played for 19 years. Murphy had 5 Gold Gloves.
Yep.
And 4
2
Silver
MVPs.
Slugger
Yep.
Awards.
No argument. But, was he? Yeah.
I'll tell you, I have my views a little bit out there. I voted for Mattingly and Murphy, and I voted for them because I think you could argue they're the two most culturally significant baseball players of the 1980s. The purpose of the Hall of Fame is to tell the story of an era. Dale Murphy is the first baseball star of cable television. There are millions of people around the country specifically tuning in to watch Dale Murphy go to bat night after night.
That's true.
And when there's the rise of TBS, the Braves go from one of the worst drawing road teams in the league to one of the best drawing road teams in the league. And there are millions of people who paid specifically to go watch Dale Murphy play baseball, arguably as much as anybody on the list, other than probably Bonds during the home run chase. So I think if you're going to tell the story of baseball in the 1980s, Dale Murphy is central to telling that story. And I think from roughly 84 to about 88, Mattingly is certainly one of the best players in baseball and arguably one of its best gate attractions too. There are millions of people who paid specifically to see Don Mattingly play baseball as well. So I think if part of what the Hall of Fame does is tell baseball's story, if you're going to talk about it during that era, and also because WPIX is so widely broadcast across the East too, you have fans who are not Yankees fans who were intimately invested in the idea of Don Mattingly as a baseball star too. So I think if you look at Bonds, you look at Clemens, decades later, their statistics will speak for themselves. If those guys ever have a chance to get in, this is the moment, because there are people who are of the age of voting, who remember these things, who understand the cultural place these guys had during that time period. So that's why I specifically would vote for these guys now, as opposed to some of the other guys who clearly are part of the story of baseball as well. But as time goes on, the meaning those guys had in sports during the time period will see more and more muted, particularly when one looks at their stats. Murphy, toward the end of his career, had a steep drop-off. Mattingly had a very brief career. I think that aspect of their career will get more and more overlooked as time passes.
So may I ask a burning question, sort of shift gears? Also on the ballot this year are two umpires, Joe West and Jerry Davis. People probably know a little bit less about Jerry Davis than they do about Joe West. But I'm very curious if anybody here would consider either of them a candidate for the Hall of Fame. There are currently 10 umpires in the Hall of Fame, only 10. So I'm curious if anybody has any, and also about George Steinbrenner, because I think he's a candidate from the Eras Committee.
He is not on the committee list.
No? Sorry, I thought he
Joe
was.
West's name on the ballot for the writers, nor did I see it on the contemporary era ballot.
Then what am I reading?
Joe West has only been out of baseball for a year. He wouldn't qualify, would he? Supposed to be out for 5 years as a player.
Yeah, are the rules different for the executive committee?
I don't know. Jerry Davis, same thing. He was umpiring.
Yeah, they just retired recently.
Yeah.
But I thought they were on the ballot. My bad.
I think you can see the ballot here on my screen right now.
Yep.
So here's the ballot that was sent out to the writers just a few days ago that they're voting on now. You can see there's some interesting names there, some very interesting first-year candidates. There's a couple of them there that I can't figure out how they got on the ballot, but
that's what I was starting to think of. Who's going to come in last?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah.
Bronson Arroyo.
I'm thinking J.J. Hardy.
J.J. Hardy?
Maybe Peralta. But, there's some interesting names in this ballot. Sheffield's there for the last time, I believe.
Yeah, he belongs in, maybe.
I agree with you there. Scotty Rowland's there, and Torrey Hunter's there.
R.A. Dickey. Wow.
That doesn't seem possible.
I know. Yeah.
Pettit, Ramirez, Rodriguez, they're still there. Billy Wagner, who I think should be in.
Yeah. One comment on talking about Don Mattingly. Don Mattingly's twin is the top guy in the center column.
Todd Helton.
Yeah. I mean, Helton's numbers are actually better than Mattingly's, and he will not get in. I guarantee you.
Yeah, because he played in Denver. I mean, it's really
Denver has nothing to do with it. I mean, yes,
it
Denver
has a huge amount to do with it because there aren't all the voters in Denver that there are on the East Coast.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, basically Denver for a Hall of Fame ballot is the equivalent of steroids.
Well,
I mean, that's the argument you get.
You know, yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
he's one of those players. Well, he is like Don Mattingly, really, really good.
Really good. Yeah.
But, and Torrey Hunter too. Torrey Hunter was one of the best outfielders in baseball for a long time. But
Offensively, though, you know, he was a good outfielder. Defensively, he was a wonderful outfielder. Same with the guy right under him, Andrew Jones.
Yes, I was going to say him too.
To me, the most interesting guy on there is Carlos Beltran, because there is a guy who's no longer eligible, but is basically Carlos Beltran of the 50s and 60s. Anybody going to guess who it is?
Veda Pinson.
Thank you. That's the guy. And Veda Pinson never came close.
I've heard his name bandied about as a lot. Some people think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if Beltran gets in, they got to retroactively put Pinson in, because I loved Veda Pinson back in the day. I think the difference is that Beltran played for 46 major league teams, maybe. Pinson only played for, I think, 2 or 3. But yeah, Beltran played for everybody.
He played for the Cleveland Spiders, for God's sake.
He may have. He may, for all I know, he's playing for the Savannah Bananas right now.
He might be. He might be. Him and Bill Lee.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And
the other one that nobody's mentioning is, Jeff Kent's underlined on that. Does that mean you thought maybe, or was
Jeff Kent's it's his final year.
Oh, he's a final year.
1 more after this, I think.
Yeah.
I would vote for Jeff Kent.
Same here. I mean, he has almost the media reputation as Barry Bonds. He was a prickly fellow and all that, but damn good second baseman. He could hit.
Wasn't he the one that went 4-wheeling or something and fell out of a Jeep and broke his wrist, and there was a big controversy or something or other, if I recall correctly?
Sounds like a shortstop for the Padres or something like that.
Yeah, it could be too. Yeah.
No, I remember that too, Bruce, and he lied about it then.
Then he lied.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think losing that fight to Bonds in the dugout radically hurt his career, because I think for a lot of times that was the first thought people had in their minds, that dugout altercation they had. And it altered the way people thought about him for a long time. So in spite of the numbers, I think a lot of people, when they think of Jeff Kent, that's the first image that comes to their mind.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I have a vague recollection of that. I don't recall it completely, but I think you're right.
Because the Hall of Fame is a lot about image. It's a lot about the way people are presented. And if that is a thought that comes to mind, particularly for sports writers that covered him, I don't think that helps.
I agree. I can see Pettit having a pretty good shot this year, because I think this ballot might be a little on the weak side. I think Scott Rowland gets in. I'd like Gary Sheffield to get in. I think he's long overdue.
Gary Sheffield was one of those guys whose at-bats were must-see TV.
Yeah.
You put off going to the bathroom until he batted.
He kept me from getting Charlie Huff's autograph, Gary Sheffield. He was taking batting practice in Montreal, and I was going down to those bullpens on the side of the baselines there that were incredibly dangerous. And he hit a line drive. He hit this dude in the head who spilled all 4 of his orange sodas all over the place. And this guy was right in front of me as I was trying to get to Charlie Huff, who's signing for all the children in Montreal. And the guy was okay, but Sheffield kept me from getting Charlie Huff's autograph. So I'd vote against him.
And it's funny. It's funny because I had the opposite experience with him. He was on a rehab assignment in Trenton when he was with the Yankees. Shows up one night in New Britain, Connecticut years ago when I was working there, and he could not have been a nicer guy. Then go figure.
Hey, Ray, I would say Manny Ramirez was must-see TV, and so is A-Rod. So how do you distinguish those? And I know what you're going to say. We don't know that Sheffield ever did anything, I guess. I don't know.
Manny Ramirez became reality TV. And his act was getting really old. And him purposely playing bad to get traded from the Red Sox, that's worse than the steroids. But getting caught for steroids twice when you know they're testing for them, I mean, that's bad.
Maddie being Maddie. Well, what I'm going to do with the chapter, and I'll put this out to share with Boston and Vermont and anybody else who would like to join in. I'm going to create our own BBWAA ballot with a Google form. We'll send that out and see as if we put anybody in the Hall of Fame before the announcement in January. I believe that's what, the 24th or so of January on MLB Network. It's usually on I think the last Tuesday of the month. That's must-see TV for me. I love this time of year and all the talk and looking at Ryan Thibodeau's spreadsheet every day. It's a lot of fun to follow along with it. So this has been a good discussion so far. I appreciate it. It's a good way to get our chapter started. One of the things we talked about when we got together up here at my place in New London was trying to do a little bit of trivia now and again. So I went out and I had a little help, and I've got a few trivia questions to throw out to the folks here tonight. We'll see. We'll see how good we are. So we ready for question one? Here we go. Before Barry Bonds did it in 2002, who was the last Giant to lead the National League in batting? You can't. Any ideas?
We should just shouting them out.
You can shout them out, sure.
Will Clark.
Not Will Clark.
How about
Orlando Cepeda?
It was not Cepeda.
Kevin Mitchell wasn't an average guy as much as he was a power guy.
And it was not Kevin Mitchell. Here's one hint. He found out he was being called up to the major leagues between features at a movie theater.
Willie Mays.
Bingo.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
If anybody sees, there's a new Willie Mays documentary that I saw on HBO or one of those services.
Yep.
And I saw it the other day, and the guy that impressed me the most was actually Barry Bonds, who came across as very humble and well-spoken. Because he's had a lot of time to himself, maybe. He came across very nicely.
Wasn't Barry Bonds? I'm sorry, Willie Mays. Barry Bonds' godfather.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they were a very close family.
Yes,
he was his dad and all, but he still came across very nicely.
He did at the Miami convention also, when we had that sit down with several people from the Marlins and everything. He was there, and he came across as very, very well spoken, very pleasant. Nothing like, all the rumors that you hear about, but I thought he was quite impressive in that particular venue too. Yeah.
I don't know about Barry, but when I umpired in the Atlantic League, 1998 to 2001, the other Bonds brother, Bobby Bonds Jr., was playing, I think, for the Newark Bears. And we used to have some very cerebral and stimulating mini discussions in the outfield between half innings about Bruce Lee.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I always appreciated that about him, that he was a big Bruce Lee fan, and so was I. And he, like you have said about Barry as of late, always presented himself as a very articulate and
Personable.
you know, well, yes, just a nice guy, fun to talk to. So.
Yeah.
Question. Go ahead.
Oh, oh no! I just wanted to mention, having to do with that. Many years ago, I was, up at the HOF in the library doing some research and everything. It was off season, but at that time it was quite quiet, and a phone call came in, and I was over. I was listening to that half of the conversation. Apparently, the question came up from somebody was, for the Hall of Fame. Does anybody take into account the person's character? Not just the batting average and all of that, but how much does character count? Now, this is just a question that came out, and it was interesting to listen to. It was an intern that was answering it, trying to hedge around the question and try to make it that a lot of that is up to the people who are voting and who thinks that particular candidate is of good character, which can be very different with every single person scrutinizing the list. And I thought it was very careful how he did that, but it is something that comes into play. After all, like we're saying, Rogers Hornsby, he would not be too well, considered now. Hal Chase apparently was really awful. And a lot of those going down there, but character, it's something that nobody speaks about, but how much does it come into it? As far as like Manny Ramirez being on that list, the thing is, we voted him into the Hall of Fame for the Red Sox, but he didn't show up. Now, if you vote him into the HOF, is he going to show up? I have my doubts.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Question 2.
Yeah.
Who secured the highest qualifying single season batting average in the 20th century?
Highest in 20th century?
I believe it was Rogers Hornsby, wasn't it?
424. It was not?
It was not. He had a solid season that year, winning the Triple Crown and leading the majors in 9 offensive categories.
Yastrzemski? No.
Nope.
Oh. Sisler?
Nope. He was also the first American League ball player to hit for the cycle.
Oh. LaJoie.
That's right. There it is.
1901, 1903.
Knapp hit 426 in 1901.
Yep.
For the Philadelphia A's. Who was the first Latin American player to win a National League batting title?
Roberto.
Yes, that should have been super easy. Roberto Clemente, 1961. He had 351.
Yep.
Who was the first player to reach base in a modern All-Star game?
What is modern? You mean 1933? Or?
Yes. Yep. Pardon me?
Sorry, guys.
Charlie Gehringer.
Ho, 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 ho. Art with the correct answer.
Oh my God.
Wow. Yes, Charlie Gehringer.
I'm old.
You didn't watch it on TV, though.
No, I did not.
Art was by his tube radio in the den with, that was about this high up.
Yep. Yeah. Philco. Something like that.
I thought he might have been peering through a knothole in the
maybe.
outfield wall.
That
What
was
was Charlie
in
Gehringer's nickname?
The
Did-
mechanical man.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Thank you. The mechanical man.
Who trails only Yogi Berra in the number of World Series rings won?
What was that again? Who's second to?
Who trails only Yogi
Oh.
Berra number of World Series rings won?
Arthur Richmond.
Pardon me,
Whitey
guys.
Ford.
He was an executive. He won rings like with all of the Yankee teams from 1996 until 2011. So he had a bunch of rings. He was an executive.
Mickey Mantle.
Not Mantle.
Oh, it isn't Mantle. No.
Not Whitey.
Well, you
No.
say that
Fangio.
like it's a Yankee then, obviously.
Yeah.
Bobby
In his
Richardson.
first MVP season, he drove in more runs than the number of games he played.
Dale Berra.
Yeah, that's it. Lou Gehrig.
No.
Not
No.
DiMaggio.
Oh, yes. There it is. There it is.
DiMaggio.
It's DiMaggio. Yep. It's
DiMaggio.
DiMaggio. Whose record for most Grand Slams in a season did Don Mattingly break with only 4 games left in his season?
Ernie Banks.
Correct.
Hey, yes.
On September 29th, 1987, Mattingly took Bruce Hurst deep for his 6th Grand Slam of the year. Which outfielder made it to the major leagues on a team that had what many baseball historians still consider to be one of the best outfields of all time?
Elmer Flick.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to start disqualifying. I'm going to have to mute Art because he's got, I'm telling you. Come on. Who is the only player to hit 40 doubles, 20 triples, and 30 home runs in the same season?
I'll disqualify myself on this one.
Okay.
That's so soft.
He was the first player to emerge from a team's minor league farm system to win a major league MVP playing for that team.
My favorite player for years.
Musial.
Nope.
Not Archie Vaughan.
No.
Nope. A hint. Pine tar.
Oh, George
Brett?
Brett.
George Brett.
Nope.
No.
Oh.
He was the penultimate player manager of the St. Louis Browns.
Oh.
Oh, I got everybody. Jim Bottomley.
Oh,
Ah.
Jim Bottomley.
Huh.
In 1928, Sonny Jim Bottomley had 42 doubles, 20 triples, and 31 home runs. That got him the NL MVP.
Wow.
as well it should.
Yeah.
Last one. Record for most hits in a season for the Yankees did Don Mattingly break in '86?
I don't remember.
He is the first Hall of Famer from his state. And he is
Red
one of
Rolf?
the very. What's that?
Is it Red Rolf?
It is not Red Rolf.
Oh, he's not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Should
He
be.
was one of the few to pinch hit for Lou Gehrig during the streak.
Pinch hit.
Yes. No.
Earl Combs?
Bingo.
It is? Oh, yeah. He
Earl
had,
Combs.
yeah, okay.
So those actually came from Horsehide Trivia. If you are not on Horsehide Trivia, I can get you the link to that. They run the trivia night at the convention every year, and it's a real tight ship and a lot of good stuff going on in there. And he puts out questions every day.
Sometimes twice a day.
Yeah, sometimes twice a day to those who are subscribed. And there's a lot of great stuff that makes you think on there. So I'll probably be using a few of those from time to time for some of our trivia contests. I might have to put a cap on the number of questions that you can answer in one contest because Art is just so darn good at this.
Oh.
That's terrific.
Hey, Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And thanks to Jessica at SABR. She's wonderful. I managed to, all my data on SABR was on a computer that crashed and burned a few weeks ago, and my password and all that sort of stuff. And I sent her a letter saying, I'm an idiot. Please give me that information. She sent it, and it's going in the mail.
So the joke is, I actually, when I started making phone calls for renewals this year with National, one on my list was Art, and I emailed him and said, "Hey, Art, you realize that you're up for renewal?" And his response was, "I got stuff to do. I can't think about that right now." So apparently, it was the computer melting down, or the fact that, oh my God, now he knows when I renew, he's never going to leave me alone.
That was a worry. I also didn't realize that I had renewed for 3 years. It didn't seem that long. Of course, I still have baseball research journals that are still in the plastic.
Jeez.
I am embarrassed, but you know.
Well, you do have that, what was it, knee surgery coming up, Art? You got time.
Pardon me?
Don't you have that surgery coming up? You got time.
Oh yeah, but I don't think with my knee. Nor do I write checks with my knee.
Well, we won't mention what most dudes do think with.
Yeah, well.
Ho!
Ho!
Coming in hot.
Spoken like a true umpire.
Tony wants to let everybody know that Art is the man when it comes to trivia tonight, so that's great.
So a quick let me throw a quick thing in. Has everyone seen the video of Angel Hernandez and Schwarber?
No.
Oh, check it out on YouTube. Schwarber gets called out on strikes. Angel and I think it was less than a second between the pitch being called and Schwarber being thrown out of the game. It was just an incredible reaction. And the pitch was like sort of kind of in the ballpark. I mean, literally in the ballpark, not in the ballpark of the strike zone, but
oh man. A couple of housekeeping things. We talked at the top of the hour about a regional SABR Day. I'm going to be working with Joanne and Bill on that upcoming. We're hopeful that Vermont is going to be involved as well. Clayton, I know you've got a lot of irons in the fire with school and all sorts, but.
Oh, I'm ready. What are we doing?
I've been speaking with Joanne and Bill over the past couple of days, and I'm going to have some further conversations with them, start to try to solidify something for hopefully SABR Day in February. If not that specific day, then maybe something somewhere around that time, of course, because many chapters have their SABR Day festivities that on a different day. So you're not required. It's not something that if you don't do it, you're drummed out of SABR or whatever. I don't know, but that's something that watch for more information about that. That's coming up very soon as well. Our next meeting is December 12th. That's a Monday night. My friend Adam Korengold will be with us. He will be talking about the rule changes that were tested in the minor leagues and the research that he's done into the effects that it had on the game, not just the time of game, but a lot of other things that he's discussed as well. and how he thinks it's going to translate to the major leagues next year. Clayton, I think, will agree with me when I say that Adam is a dynamic speaker and a terrific guy. And I really hope that we get a great turnout for him because he's just wonderful.
Adam's a genius. Yeah, he spoke to our chapter, what, a month or two ago? Just such a clear, concise presenter of information. It was fascinating. I don't even think someone had to be a baseball fan to be interested in what he was talking about. He does things so well visually. It'll be a real treat. I'm looking forward to being on for that one as well.
Hopefully.
Will that be 7 o'clock?
Yeah, it'll be 7 o'clock. Yep.
Mhm.
I'll be sending out some information on that in the coming days, and let's get Vermont in on that too, Clayton. Let's
Absolutely. Well, I'll be banging the drum.
Perfect. Now, as we go along, I'm going to try to be giving some workshops for everybody in both our chapter up here in New Hampshire and for anybody else who wants them on the usage of the SABR community and our website and the perks of membership. I noticed that I get a lot of questions about things that go with membership. And I think that some of these workshops might be of help to membership up here. So I'll be putting out some of that going forward. And if anybody wants to learn more about the things that they can do online with their membership, I'm your guy. I'll be holding those classes going forward.
Okay.
Great.
So, I mean, if there's anything else that anybody has.
Well, I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to give a shout out to Clayton for his book Loserville, which I am enjoying immensely.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to read it. I really appreciate it.
It's a slow read, lots of stuff in it.
I agree. It was a slow write.
Well, in that case, we're at about 8:05. I'll let everybody go. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for their patience in the creation of the Northern New England chapter. And we're off and running. I think our first pitch went very well, and we're gonna keep going from here, guys and gals. So I appreciate everybody coming out this evening, and thank you very much.
I just want to say hello to Joanne, since we've had all sorts of chats on by email, but I never knew what Joanne looked like. Oh no, I'll take it back. I did. I saw a picture of you singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." But also I want to ask one question. Who is that dapper fellow behind you?
Henry David Thoreau.
It is. Yes, I was looking. Yes.
And he played baseball.
I know he did.
Yes, he played baseball. So
I've been to his house.
He gets in here. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's how he gets in the room.
Okay.
Nice to see
Well,
everybody.
all right. Well, everybody have a great night. Ray, nice to see you. Nice to see everybody. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Good
for
to
Adam.
see you all.
Thank you. Congratulations, Bruce.
Thanks, Clayton.
Thank you,
very much.
Bruce.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Have a good night.
Night.